A black unmarked sedan pulled up to Adelaide Cottage. It carried a locked mahogany box. On top was the late Queen's personal seal. Inside lay a treasure hidden for 3 decades. It was Diana's famous sapphire and pearl choker. But this was not an accident. King Charles had made a silent executive decree. He bypassed Queen Camilla entirely and sent the relic straight to Catherine. Why did Charles make this dangerous choice? And what warning did Diana leave hidden in the velvet lining? Let us find out. The silent arrival. The morning was cold. Mist hung low over the lawns of Windsor. Adelaide Cottage sat in total silence. Suddenly, the heavy iron gates swung open. A single black sedan drove down the gravel path. There were no flashing lights or royal escort. This was a highly classified delivery. The driver stepped out of the vehicle. He was a trusted royal courier. He held a small package close to his chest. Royal protection officers waved him through immediately. They had strict orders from the very top. No one was to stop this delivery or ask questions. The courier reached the front door of Adelaide Cottage. He did not ring the bell. Instead, he used a secure royal code. The door opened quickly. Catherine stood in the entryway. She looked calm, but her eyes were sharp. She knew exactly what this package contained. She had been waiting for this moment for weeks. The courier handed over the box. He offered a brief, polite bow. He turned and left without saying a single word. The door clicked shut. Catherine stood alone in her hallway. The package felt heavy in her hands. It was a simple mahogany box. The wood was dark and polished, but the real story was on the lid. A thick stamp of red wax sat over the lock. It bore the personal seal of Elizabeth II. This box had not been opened since the Queen passed away. In fact, it had been sealed much longer than that. It had been sitting in the deepest vaults of the palace. It was a piece of royal history that carried deep wounds. And now, it belonged to the Princess of Wales. Catherine walked into her private sitting room. She placed the box on her wooden desk and pulled a small silver key from her pocket. The key had arrived the day before. It came with a handwritten note from King Charles. The note was brief. It told her to open the box only when she was alone and keep the contents out of public view. Most importantly, it told her to tell no one, not even the staff or her closest friends, and certainly not Queen Camilla. Catherine inserted the key into the brass lock. It turned with a heavy, satisfying click. She broke the red wax seal and slowly lifted the heavy wooden lid. A faint scent of aged velvet filled the room. Resting on a bed of dark blue silk was the treasure.
Diana had this diamond and sapphire piece converted into a necklace with a 7-strand pearl choker.
It was the 7-strand pearl choker. In the center sat the massive deep blue sapphire. The stones caught the morning light. They seemed to glow with a strange, icy energy. This was Diana's ultimate statement piece. It was the weapon she wore to war. Now, it was sitting on Catherine's desk. But this handover was a massive gamble. By sending this box to Catherine, Charles was making a statement. He was choosing the future over the present. He was completely bypassing his own wife. Camilla had spent years trying to secure Diana's jewels. She wanted to control the narrative and show she held the power. But Charles had quietly shut her out. He did it in the dark and without her knowledge. Why would the king risk his own domestic peace? Why did he send this specific piece to Catherine? The answer lies in the velvet lining of the box itself. As Catherine lifted the sapphire, she felt something stiff. There was a hidden pocket in the silk. She reached inside. Her fingers brushed against a thin piece of paper. It was yellowed with age and folded twice. On the outside, there was a single word written in blue ink. The word was Catherine. But Diana had died long before Catherine met William. How could this note exist? Catherine unfolded the paper. The handwriting was hurried and elegant. It was unmistakably Diana's. The message inside was not a blessing. It was a stark, chilling warning. A warning about the very crown Catherine was destined to wear. The room grew very cold as Catherine read the words. She realized the jewelry was not just a gift. It was a test. And the psychological game had just begun. The armor of a princess. Every piece of jewelry tells a story. Some stories are beautiful, others are dangerous. But this specific sapphire was a physical weapon. To understand its power, we must look back. The year was 1981. Diana was young. She was about to marry the Prince of Wales. The royal family wanted to welcome her with grand gestures. The Queen Mother handed her a wedding gift. It was a massive midnight blue sapphire. Double rows of glittering diamonds surrounded the stone. It was beautiful, but it was old-fashioned. The sapphire was originally a large brooch and designed to be pinned to a heavy dress. Diana looked at the brooch. She did not want to wear it on her shoulder or follow the old rules. She had other plans. She wanted to make the stone her own. She took the brooch to the royal jewelers and ordered them to make a major change. Diana had them mount the sapphire on 7 strands of thin pearls. It was a bold design choice. The pearls held the massive blue stone perfectly. It became a tight, striking choker, hugged her neck, was close and heavy. She wore it constantly, but it was more than fashion. It was her psychological armor. Let us move to a warm summer night. It happened on June 29, 1994, at the Serpentine Gallery in Kensington. The world was sitting in front of their television screens. Prince Charles was giving a highly anticipated interview. He confessed to his infidelity on national television. He publicly broke his marriage vows. The royal family expected Diana to hide. They expected her to stay behind closed doors at Kensington Palace. According to them, she was meant to remain silent and look defeated. Instead, she stepped out of her royal vehicle. She wore a tight, off-the-shoulder black dress. The dress was short and daring. It broke every single royal protocol. The papers would quickly call it the revenge dress. But look closely at her neck. Resting there was the 7-strand sapphire choker. The pearls held the giant blue stone firmly against her throat. It was a brilliant psychological counterattack. She did not need to speak a single word. Her jewelry spoke for her. She was showing she could not be broken, telling them she was still the star of the show. She turned a symbol of the monarchy into a shield of defiance. From that night on, the choker was different. It was no longer just a wedding gift. It was the ultimate symbol of her survival. But the palace hated this defiance. They watched her use their own stones against them. Royal jewelry is supposed to show submission. It is supposed to represent duty and show that you belong to the crown. Diana reversed that dynamic. She used the stones to build her own brand. She used them to eclipse the royal family entirely. Every flash of the camera on that sapphire was a blow to the courtiers. It was a quiet, glittering war. The palace watched in silent panic. They realized they could not control her image. They could not take the jewelry back. It was her personal property. She had claimed it. Yet, behind the cameras, Diana was struggling. She loved the sapphire, but she also feared it. During a private conversation with a close friend, she made a confession. She looked at the glittering piece on her dressing table. She did not call it her treasure. Instead, she called it her shackles. Why did Diana use such a dark word? Why would she call her most famous piece of armor a set of chains? The answer lies in the design itself. The choker was beautiful, but it was physically heavy. It pressed tightly against her throat, and it became a constant physical reminder of her royal prison. It reminded her of the husband who did not love her and bound her to the very family she was trying to escape. She could not wear the sapphire without remembering Charles, nor could she wear the pearls without feeling the weight of the institution. It was a double-edged sword. It gave her power in public, but it choked her in private. She was trapped inside her own image, and now, 3 decades later, that same weight is resting on Catherine's desk. The key is turned and the lid is open. Will these glittering shackles do the same to the new Princess of Wales? To find out, we must look at where this treasure has been hiding for 30 years. We must enter the deepest vault of the palace, the 30-year lockout. August 1997 changed everything. The world stopped. The princess was gone. Her personal items were packed away. Most of her jewels went to her sons. William and Harry received her private collection. But this specific sapphire choker did not go to them. It vanished from public view completely. It was not lost. It was quarantined. The royal family took immediate control. They moved the mahogany box to the depths of Buckingham Palace. Specifically, they placed it in the royal vault. This was a highly secure room. It sits deep beneath the stone floors of the palace. Only a select few have access. For 30 years, the sapphire sat in total darkness. Why did they lock it away? The answer is simple: fear. The courtiers feared the ghost of Diana. They feared her power over the public. The sapphire was a symbol of her rebellion. Every time she wore it, she challenged the crown. If the public saw that stone, they remembered her pain and the betrayal. The palace wanted the world to forget. They needed a clean slate. They had a massive project to complete and needed to make the public accept Camilla. This was a delicate task. It took decades of careful planning. Camilla had to be introduced slowly. She had to look like a supportive partner, a traditional royal. If Diana's revenge armor appeared, the magic would break. It would ruin the illusion. So, the late queen ordered the quarantine. The sapphire must remain in the dark. But behind closed doors, a silent battle was brewing. Camilla knew the power of royal jewels. She understood their history and wanted to secure her own legacy. She looked at Diana's collection and wanted the sapphire. She did not want to wear the choker as Diana did. Instead, she wanted to change it. She wanted to reset the massive stone. She lobbied to turn the sapphire into a brooch again, or perhaps a necklace of her own design. If she wore the stone, she could show she had won. She could claim the ultimate prize. For years, Camilla quietly dropped hints. She made polite requests to the late queen. But Elizabeth II was highly intelligent. She understood Camilla's ambition and the danger. If Camilla wore Diana's signature piece, the public would react. The outrage would be instant. It would destroy years of public relations work. So, the queen stood firm. The answer was always a polite but final no. The box stayed locked and the wax seal remained unbroken. Then, the world changed again. September 2022. The queen passed away. The keys to the vaults changed hands. Charles was now the king. Camilla was now the queen. The path seemed clear for Camilla. She believed the sapphire was finally hers. She expected the mahogany box to arrive at her dressing room. She waited for the delivery, but the delivery never came. Instead, Charles did something unexpected. He waited, watched, and looked at the shifting public mood. He saw the challenges facing his family. He knew the crown was vulnerable. And he realized a hard truth. The future of the monarchy did not lie with him or Camilla. The survival of the family depended entirely on Catherine. Catherine was popular. She was steady and the new star of the royal family. But she was also under immense pressure. She needed her own armor and a symbol of ultimate authority. Charles made a quiet decision. He signed the release papers. He did it without telling his wife and under total secrecy. He chose to pass the ultimate weapon to his daughter-in-law. But this decision has triggered a massive crisis. How did Camilla react when she discovered the empty shelf in the vault? And what did this silent choice tell the rest of the family about where the real power now sits? We are about to enter the private rooms of Clarence House. We are about to see the fallout. The coronation of the soul. To understand how the box reached Adelaide Cottage, we must go back. We must look at a rainy afternoon at Windsor Castle. It was early autumn. The tourist crowds had gone home. The vast stone corridors were cold. King Charles sat in his private study. The room was filled with books and old oil paintings. He looked tired. The weight of the crown was pressing hard upon him. He had spent his whole life waiting to be king. Now, he faced a fractured family. He faced an uncertain public. He knew his reign would not be long. Charles needed to protect the future of the House of Windsor. He heard a quiet knock on the heavy oak door. It was Catherine. She entered the room without ceremony. She wore a simple dark coat. She did not bow. Instead, she offered a warm, supportive smile. Charles gestured for her to sit down. There were no courtiers in the room and no secretaries taking notes. This was not a state meeting. This was a deeply personal family summit. Charles looked at his daughter-in-law. He saw her strength and steady nature. He saw the way the public looked at her with hope. He reached into his pocket. He did not pull out a grand speech or present her with a document. Instead, he placed a small silver key on the desk. He pushed it slowly across the polished wood. Catherine looked at the key. She did not pick it up immediately. She knew what it unlocked, and the history that came with it. The king began to speak. His voice was quiet. He told her that the crown was not just a symbol of power. It was a psychological burden. According to him, the family had made mistakes in the past. They had failed to protect those who were different. They had failed to protect Diana. He admitted that Diana had been left to fight her battles alone. She had used her jewelry to build a wall of protection, and sapphire to fight the institution. But Charles did not want another war. He wanted unity. He told Catherine that she was the only one who could carry Diana's ghost. She was the only one who could wear the armor without being destroyed by it. He told her that Camilla wanted the stone. She wanted to rewrite history. She wanted to erase the memory of the night at the Serpentine Gallery. But Charles said the past could not be erased. It had to be honored and mastered. He instructed Catherine to take the key. He told her the courier would bring the mahogany box to her home. She was to keep the exchange a complete secret. He did not want a public scene or a confrontation with his wife. He was handing her the ultimate symbol of royal authority. It was a quiet, private coronation of her soul. Catherine finally reached out her hand. Her fingers closed around the cold silver key. She looked the king in the eyes and nodded slowly. She accepted the burden and challenge. A few days later, the box arrived at Adelaide Cottage. The lock was turned and the sapphire was revealed. Catherine sat at her dressing table. She held the heavy 7-strand choker. The diamonds sparkled. The massive sapphire seemed to hold a deep pool of history. She held it up to her neck. Suddenly, the door to her bedroom opened. Prince William walked into the room. He stopped in his tracks. The silence in the room became absolute. His eyes locked onto the glittering blue stone in his wife's hands. His breath caught. For a long moment, he could not speak. He was no longer a middle-aged prince. He was a young boy again and back in Kensington Palace. He was looking at his mother. He remembered her getting ready for a night of battle. He remembered the smell of her perfume and the cold feel of that same sapphire. The jewelry was a physical piece of his mother. It was a piece of his childhood grief. Catherine looked up at her husband. She saw the pain in his eyes and memories rushing back. She gently lowered the choker back onto the velvet lining of the box. William took a slow step forward. He sat down on the edge of the bed and looked at the mahogany box. His voice was a low, emotional whisper. He asked her where she had got it. Catherine explained the secret meeting with his father. She told him about the silver key and the king's silent decree. William listened in silence. He put his head in his hands. He was torn. Part of him was deeply moved. He was glad his father had recognized Catherine's unique strength. He was glad his mother's most famous piece had not been given to Camilla. But another part of him was deeply afraid. He knew the history of that sapphire and the psychological toll it had taken on his mother. He looked back up at Catherine. His eyes were filled with a stark warning. He did not offer congratulations. Instead, he said words that Catherine would never forget. He told her that the sapphire was beautiful, but he warned her that it was also dangerous. He told her that it had a way of changing the person who wore it. It had turned his mother into a warrior, but it had also isolated her. It had made her a target. He begged Catherine not to let the jewelry consume her. He told her to remember that she was Catherine first and a mother. She must not let the ghost of Diana dictate her future. Catherine listened to her husband's warning. She felt the true weight of the inheritance. She realized the sapphire was not just a gift from a king. It was a test of her own psychological survival. She reached out and took William's hand. She promised him she would be careful and she would control the jewelry. She would not let the jewelry control her. But as she closed the mahogany box, she knew the storm was coming. She knew that when Camilla discovered the empty shelf in the vault, the real clash would begin. The shadow of Camilla. The discovery did not happen in public. It happened on a rainy Tuesday morning at Clarence's house. Queen Camilla stood in her private dressing room. She was preparing for an upcoming state visit and wanted to select her jewelry. She summoned the keeper of the royal jewel house and requested a specific piece. She wanted the 7-strand sapphire and pearl choker. She had been planning this move for months. She wanted to make a statement of her own. The keeper looked uncomfortable. He hesitated. He did not look her in the eyes. Instead, he adjusted his collar. His hands were shaking slightly. He spoke in a quiet whisper. He said the item was no longer in the vault. Camilla froze. She did not raise her voice or scream. She simply asked where it had gone. The keeper explained the situation. He said the box had been signed out, and the release papers had a personal signature. It was the signature of King Charles. The destination was Adelaide Cottage. The recipient was Catherine. The silence in the dressing room became heavy. The keeper was quickly dismissed. The door shut. Camilla was left entirely alone. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Charles had bypassed her. He had done it in secret. According to her, he had given Diana's ultimate weapon to her rival. The reaction was not loud. It was silent and cold. Camilla knew she could not make a public scene. To complain to the press would reveal her weakness. It would show the world that she did not hold the king's ear. She had spent 20 years building her position. She had survived decades of public hostility. Now, she was finally the queen. Yet, with a single stroke of a pen, her husband had reminded her of her limits. He had shown her that when the future of the crown was at stake, she was still an outsider. The true legacy belonged to Diana's children, and now it belonged to Catherine. Later that evening, the king returned to Clarence's house. The dinner was served in absolute silence. There were no arguments or shouting behind closed doors. But the emotional distance between the king and queen was wider than ever before. Camilla did not mention the sapphire. She did not ask him why he had bypassed her. She knew that to ask would be to accept his judgment. Instead, she played her own silent game. She began to plan her next public appearances with extreme care. She chose to wear other pieces from the royal collection. She wore heavy historic diamonds that once belonged to the Queen Mother. She wanted to show she did not need Diana's stones to look royal, but the message had already been received. The palace courtiers and the staff in the jewel house knew. The balance of power had shifted. The present belonged to Camilla, but the future had been delivered to Adelaide Cottage. Meanwhile, Catherine was watching the fallout with quiet intelligence. She did not rush to wear the sapphire, nor did she parade it in front of the cameras. She understood the danger of a direct confrontation. If she wore the choker too soon, she would look like she was celebrating a victory. She would look like she was mocking Camilla. That was not Catherine's style. Her power lay in her patience. She kept the mahogany box locked in her desk. She waited. But she kept thinking about the paper, kept on thinking about the handwritten note hidden in the velvet. She knew she had to face the message. She had to read the warning Diana had left behind, and she had to decide what kind of princess was going to be. The night of whispers. The grand ballroom of Buckingham Palace was ready. A lavish state banquet was about to begin. The tables were dressed in fine white linen. Heavy gold plates caught the light of 1,000 candles. Foreign diplomats and world leaders filled the room. The atmosphere was thick with expectation. This was the first major international event of the year. The royal family was expected to appear in full regalia. Everyone in the room knew the stakes. They knew the tension that had been building behind palace walls. Camilla arrived first. She walked with deliberate, slow steps and wore a dark emerald gown. On her head was a glittering diamond tiara. She looked confident and held her chin high, but her eyes were constantly scanning the entrance. She was waiting to see what Catherine would do. Suddenly, the heavy double doors opened. The room grew instantly quiet. Catherine walked into the ballroom. She did not wear the traditional heavy diamonds of the past. Instead, she wore a simple, elegant midnight blue dress. But it was her neck that drew every eye. Resting against her throat was the 7-strand pearl choker. The massive deep blue sapphire caught the light of the chandeliers. It seemed to glow with an icy, brilliant fire. It was unmistakable. The crowd gasped in a collective whisper. The cameras began to flash rapidly. The press went into a frenzy. It was the ultimate statement. Catherine had bypassed the traditional quarantine. She was displaying Diana's most lethal weapon to the world. She walked directly toward Camilla. The two women locked eyes. For a brief, agonizing moment, the silence between them was absolute. Camilla's expression did not change. She remained a professional, but her fingers tightened around her silk purse. She saw the sapphire and the future standing right in front of her. Catherine offered a polite, gentle nod. Her smile was warm but steady. She did not look like a rebel. She looked like a queen in waiting. Prince William stood right behind her. He kept his hand near his wife's back. His face was serious, but his posture was proud. He was supporting her choice and letting everyone know that the family was united. The silent battle had been fought in the light of the cameras. The world had watched, but only a few people in that room understood the true meaning of the display. They knew that the sapphire was not just a beautiful piece of history. It was a shield and a clear signal that the crown had chosen its champion. As Catherine moved to take her seat at the banquet table, she felt the eyes of the room on her. The jewelry felt heavy. It was a physical weight, but she did not look down. She did not hide. She had survived her first public test with perfect grace. Now she had to face the hardest part of her inheritance. She had to return to her study and open the folded paper once more. She had to read the final, chilling warning Diana had left behind. The final message. The night was quiet. Outside Adelaide Cottage, the wind rustled the ancient trees. William and the children were asleep. Catherine sat alone in the dim light of her study. The mahogany box sat before her. The lid was open. The blue sapphire seemed to stare up at her like a cold, glittering eye. She reached into the silk lining. She pulled out the folded, yellowed paper. Her fingers brushed against the ink. She unfolded the note slowly. The paper was fragile. It had been sitting in the dark for 30 years. The words were written in a hurried, elegant script. It was the hand of a woman who had been running out of time. It was the voice of a mother writing to the future. Catherine began to read. The message did not contain royal protocols. It did not contain instructions on how to behave at state dinners. It was a raw, unfiltered transmission of pain. Diana had written the note during her final year in the palace. She had written it when she realized her marriage was completely over. She wrote it at a point when she felt the walls closing in around her. The note was a map of her own survival, and it was a message specifically addressed to the woman who would one day marry her eldest son. Diana had written about the sapphire itself. She explained why she had turned the brooch into a choker. She needed to feel the weight of the stone against her skin and remind herself of the price she had paid. She wrote that the palace would try to turn Catherine into a statue. They would try to carve away her humanity. They would try to make her a perfect smiling image and use the jewels to dress her up. But the jewels were not gifts. They were stakes and anchors designed to hold her in place. Diana warned her that the courtiers did not care about her happiness. They cared only about the continuity of the institution. They would protect the crown at all costs, even if it meant breaking the person who wore it. The note contained a single, central directive. Diana wrote, "Do not let them take your voice. Wear the stones, but never let them own your spirit. If you must go to war, make sure you choose your own weapons. And above all else, protect my boy." Catherine read the words twice. The silence in the study was heavy. She felt the presence of the woman who had sat in this same position decades before. She realized the truth of King Charles's decision. The king had not given her the sapphire to cause a family feud. He had not done it to hurt Camilla. Charles had given her the sapphire because he knew she was the only one strong enough to break the cycle. He knew she was the only one who could wear the armor without becoming a prisoner to the past. Catherine folded the paper. She did not destroy it or hide it away in a palace archive. She placed it carefully back into the hidden compartment of the velvet lining. She ran her fingers over the cold stones of the choker. Catherine understood what she had to do. She would wear the sapphire, and she would step out onto the world stage with the 7 strands of pearls around her neck. For her, it meant honoring Diana's memory. But she would not be Diana. She would not let the weight of the past choke her. She would not let the psychological traps of the palace destroy her peace. She would wear the armor, but she would remain Catherine first. She closed the heavy mahogany wooden lid. The brass lock clicked into place, and the secret was safe. The game was won. But the public has yet to see the true power of this inheritance. One day soon, A major state event will arrive. The cameras will line the halls of the palace. The world will watch as the royal family steps out in their full regalia. Queen Camilla will wear her grand, historic diamonds. But all eyes will be on the Princess of Wales. They will look at her neck and see the glittering midnight blue sapphire. They will see the 7 strands of pearls caught in the camera flashes. People will think they are looking at a beautiful piece of royal history. They will think they are looking at a tribute to a lost icon. But those behind closed doors will know the truth. They will see the shield and the statement. They will know that Catherine has claimed her place as the true leader of the family's future. And they will know that the psychological war for the crown is finally over. Will Catherine master Diana's ultimate weapon? Or will the glittering sapphire eventually become her own gilded cage? The game for the crown has only just begun. What do you think of this silent transfer of power? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep, psychological insights into the lives of the royal family. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.